Kiki ma ma ma. Welcome to Masters of Horror, inspired by the true story of Cult Film Showdown. I am your host, Jim Cotta, and we are talking about Masters of Horror, a TV series that ran from 2005 to 2007. Every episode directed by one of the Masters of Horror, and often writers, either based on the work of horror masters or folks who were masters of their craft at the time. And I am joined on this journey by Nick Boxer.
Good evening. That's all I got.
All right. And Jack Hall.
So, well, I understand this will end up, on the We Talk podcast and the Cult Film Showdown YouTube page. Yep. Where you can find other great stuff like Sporty Spice on the Norm Macdonald Show. Yeah, that's a great clip. Yeah, that's classic. And you'll put up things like Sybil Danning without all the nude scenes, like the best of Sybil Danning, not nude.
Well, she's not nude in that. It's actually that she's not nude in that video to start with. But it's a compilation video of nude scenes of other actresses. But I mean, it's easy enough to find in other places, and it's not going to stay on YouTube with all the nudity. So,
well, it is true because I think a lot of us watch a Sybil Danning movie and think, oh man, her nudity sure is getting in the way of her acting. I was so excited to watch her acting, and there she is with her shirt off again. Man, fast forward.
It's not like she's overclothed in this in the footage that's up. It's like watching someone slowly put together a cosplay outfit. All right. So this time out, we are talking about John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns, which is episode 8 of season 1 of Masters of Horror. Now, Jack, for the couple of people that would listen to this show and do not know who John Carpenter is, you want to give us a guide?
Yeah, no, this is an interesting one that they decided to go with this kid, John Carpenter. Because normally we were talking about Masters of Horrors, and we have, Tobe Hooper in here, and we have our Dario Argento, and just different legendary names. And then they find this kid who's done all this. He did like the music for Ghost of Mars or something like that. And
that's definitely what will be first in his obit as far as his credits go.
I think so. And then he disappeared. And this kid just shows up. His name was, what was it again? John. Well, I have it written down.
Johnny Carpenter.
Johnny Carpenter. So he shows up. This musician who's done like one soundtrack, I think, shows up out of nowhere, and they give him a Master of Horror thing and tell him to direct an episode, and then he disappears, no legacy whatsoever.
So this Christopher Plummer, he hasn't really worked that much before?
No. Who's he?
All right. So, and who are our writers?
In all seriousness, John Carpenter is John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Best known for a man who I had the chance to get his autograph. I got an autograph and headshot from, and nice. As I was walking away, he goes, "Hey, come here." And I turn around, I walk towards him, and he goes, "Thank you." Holds out his hand, shakes my hand. I'm like, "This is a cool man. Man. He's awesome." I'm a big fan of John Carpenter. Of course, The Thing, Halloween, Christine. The music is as iconic as the films. His son did the music on this particular project.
I saw that. That's pretty terrific.
Yeah, Tobe Carpenter, who also did the music with him in the latest Halloween trilogy. Nice. And I think he's worked with them, goes with them on tour and stuff, because you can find John Carpenter on tour doing music from his different movies, and Big Trouble in Little China. He's done some other work in some other genres as well, but he's just when again, I don't know who's the most iconic director they have in this thing, but I know John Carpenter's in the argument.
I think it's probably pretty telling that in the episode list, I think this is the only one that has the director's name in the title itself. This isn't Cigarette Burns. This is John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns. So I think that's a sign of who this guy is. Who wrote this episode?
Nobody I recognized. I
Okay.
looked up, didn't see names, anything of note to the thing. It's an adaptation of a short story, and
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I looked them up. They weren't names that I was overly familiar with in this case. So I mean, I half expected as I was looking it up to see John Carpenter himself had adapted it, because he does do a lot of his own screenplays,
Right.
but in this case he had not. It is adapted from two other working, let's call them working writers.
Yeah. And didn't write a whole lot of else, actually. Yeah, you're right.
No.
Yeah, very thin credits outside of this. So, Nick, tell us a bit about what Cigarette Burns.
Okay.
If you do your best to tell us what Cigarette Burns is about.
Okay. The master of subtlety himself, Udo Kerr, hires Norman Regis, yes, Gerald Dixon himself, to find a film for him. Now, Kirby, who is the name of the character Daryl Dixon is playing, is a drug addict, theater owner, and film finder. I think that's a job. And this mysterious film seems to have a curse, and everyone who's touched it has had violent repercussions. Now, every step along this search basically is a pretty obvious sign that he should not look any further. But you know what? He goes through all the steps. He finds the film and brings it back to Udon Kur, or I said his name earlier. I can't say it again. I don't know why.
I'm
Brings
impressed
it
you got it right
back
the
with
first time.
disastrous consequences. And there's an
it's an
angel in
interesting
this for some
concept.
reason.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, I think this concept actually has been kind of taken and played with before, but I think since this has come out in, what was it, 2004,
2005, yeah.
2005, yeah. Since then, I think this concept has been played with an awful lot more, actually, because it is an interesting concept behind it. Just the idea that
I think there's a Roman Polanski film that came out before this that did it with Johnny Depp with the book, but
that was The Gate. Was that The Gate?
It could be The Gate.
Yeah, I think that might even have been based on a Stephen King property, if I remember correctly, but could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept regardless. Just kind of the idea that there's this curse behind this film, and everybody wants to see it because it's so compelling and its legend is so important, but the actual to watch it is to occur a bloody death for yourself and anybody around you, basically. So it's yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept. I found the actual film or episode or whatever we want to call it a little slow. I think the concept was probably really interesting, but I found it myself. I found it a little. It is a slow burn, I think, and that is done on purpose. But I found it lacked a little energy, personally.
Really, I found the opposite, actually. I thought every character we met in this was so eccentric that it took me out of it a little bit. I mean, everyone was so over the top. The snuff film guy, and
that really comes out of nowhere, doesn't it?
And
that one does,
I mean,
yeah.
even the Japanese butler. is just so incredibly cartoonish that I found entertainment there. I mean, there isn't much story to be had. He just goes from place to place saying, "Do you have the film?" But the characters are kind of fun.
That's a great observation. That most of the movie is him walking up to people and going, "Hey, that movie that is basically impossible to find. You got that?"
Yeah,
and
that's
and more
the whole
specifically,
movie. You know what?
everyone
This is
says
8
yes.
millimeter. It's 8mm with Norman Reedus instead of Nick Cage. That's basically basically what this is. You basically summed it up for me now.
It's a bit odd that it kind of vacillates between how hard it is to find this movie, because at first, like, they tell you that the only print that ever existed was destroyed by the government in somewhere, and then, like, the next person he's talked to had run the movie at a private screening for a group of people. So he's had it in his hands.
They never really explain his melted hand either.
Well, no, he said he says that he has a hand that's just fused together. He says that he woke up with the film reel sitting on it. That his hand and so that even touching.
He had originally tried to turn off the film.
Yeah.
And then woke up with the reel sitting on it, and the hand was deformed like that. Again, one of those characters where it's like, maybe you found him interesting, Nick. Like that character, I'm just like, he's just like, all of a sudden he's there, and he's kind of dickish. Then he's like, but I like you. And then, he's like, he's hiding everything. And then he gives him this address, his phone number, and says, "Don't call this if I was you. This guy's dangerous." The first thing he does, of course, is call him. And that guy is like, did this snuff film actually happen? Because or was that imagined? Because all of a sudden he's tied up, and the guy's killing his Uber driver or whatever, taxi driver, I guess at this point. The guy's killing his Norman Reedus' taxi driver. And Norman Reedus is tied up and then all of a sudden the guy's two goons are gone, and the guy's on the ground, and Norman Reedus is on top of him, and the guy's throat is slit. And I'm like, it was like, did it happen? Did it not happen? I'm very confused by this whole thing.
My take of that was that it all happened because there's one of those. I'll go back a step. That the title "Cigarette Burns" refers to the mark that was on a physical print of the film that told the projectionist when the next reel started. For quite a long time, they've just linked the movie. They just link the reels up and they run on a platter, so the film is one film. But they used to be in. What were they, Nick? Like 14 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that.
It depends what speed, but they were huge reels originally.
Yeah.
And then when projectors got smaller, they packaged them in smaller reels. So
the cigarette burn itself is a burn mark in the upper right corner as you look at the film, and well known to anyone who has seen the film Fight Club, where they explain exactly what it is and then show you it. They show
it here. They show it in our Argento film.
Oh, do
here, and they do show you the cigarette burn in the film. The guy's taking it out of that film, saying when you remove it, it causes anarchy.
Remember? Yeah, it's a. I was wondering about the artistic license of explaining the cigarette burn wrong. I mean, it's not like John Carpenter doesn't know that. so I mean, it's clear it's a choice to do what they're doing in the story. I mean, it's not like John Carpenter was not aware of the cigarette burn is. Because what the guy explains, the guy says, when you see the cigarette burn, you know that something's about to happen in the movie, which is exactly the opposite of where the cigarette burn usually is. You want it at a quiet.
They didn't make those cuts from reel to reel at random. They did they did put them in at scene breaks.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a little specious, but you do have that something happening every scene, so it does make sense from that point of view.
Yeah, but you're right that they weren't like an exact minute count, because you want to put them where it's not going to be super noticeable if you lose some frames, because what would also happen is that as you splice together and then cut these films back apart, then you would lose a couple of frames each time, which is what they tell you in Fight Club. And so you want it somewhere where no one's going to notice that a few frames are missing, like the end of a scene. They also, when they start using the cigarette burns on the screen, and that's what I say about the snuff film scene, is that you get that burn right before he blacks out. And that happens twice in the movie, that there's a cigarette burn shock kind of point, and then he wakes up. So I think everything in this film happens that they say happens. I don't think there's just like dream sequences in this one.
So you don't think that's a dream? So you think
No.
that the snuff film part actually did happen?
Yes. Yes.
So you think that guy killed the taxi driver?
Yep.
And that Norman Reedus is tied into his chair.
Yep.
And that then the two goons decided to walk away while Norman Reedus
I don't think they
untied.
I think they're also dead. Like, I think they're also dead in that room after he comes to. But either way,
when he comes to, they untie him, and he goes all Rambo on their ass and kills all three of them.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, you got to remember, this is a movie that has like demons in it and a haunted film, and you're looking for a plausible reason that this would happen with real world rules, and we're not within something that has real world rules.
No, I think if you watch it, I mean, the cigarette burns there are just sort of John Carpenter fucking with the audience a little bit.
Yeah, well, they fit into that explanation of the cigarette burn as something's about to happen. Also, it was also a strange. It was an artistic choice, and I'm wondering if you have a take on this. The cigarette burns, as I said, are always in the upper right corner so that the projectionist sees them. Like, you always want them in the same corner. But they put that cigarette burn all over the place on the screen. It's only kind of near the end that it actually ends up in the spot that it is in the real world. So, like, what was your take on that as a choice?
You know what? I didn't notice until you mentioned it. I'll have to think about that. Not now. I can't come up with.
What was that, Jack?
Sorry, I wasn't sure who you were talking to, me or
both.
Or
Either.
Nick.
Either.
Okay.
I think I said you guys. Because a couple of times it's in the place it would normally be, but other times it's like that burn mark is in the dead center of the screen. And I guess that we're on YouTube. You can just put that in the comments below.
Perhaps. I mean, to me, I feel like it's one of those things that I guess maybe, like you say, Carpenter would have known, but I think the percentage of the audience that would be aware of that is so incredibly small that
and that's
don't see it as a big deal.
It'd also be an editorial decision. I mean, I assume he would be involved in that, but maybe not. So that, and there could be some like very simple production reason, like on some TVs that corner could be cut off.
That's very true. We have to keep in mind this is back in.
It's 2005.
In the era,
yeah.
Yeah, it's the era when the switch over to probably 720p is about. It's
yeah,
probably 50% of the audience has a high definition television at this point.
Yeah, and a lot of people are still watching things on 4:3 televisions, so like you could easily lose that corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could be something simple as that.
Like your parents are still doing to this day.
No, my parents have a fantastic TV. And
they finally upgraded, did they?
Oh, it's terrific. It's a great TV, and I'm not sure if it gets a fourth channel. But I know it gets It gets the channel that shows Columbo at night, and it gets the Hallmark channel, the W network, which is playing Hallmark movies, Christmas Hallmark movies till Christmas, and it gets the Weather Channel.
After Christmas, they're playing next year's Christmas Hallmark movies.
That's right. Man, that's a great industry. Like, it just fascinates me as a business.
I think I saw something like that they are producing by Christmas this year, like by Christmas this year, from November till something like 80 films that are Christmas related or Thanksgiving related. You know,
and how many starred Lindsay Lohan?
Just one, and that was amazing. That's one of my new Christmas watches. I freaking love that. Oh my God, it was funny.
Enter the Octagon?
Well, not the way you guys are. I mean, it's not anything. It's exactly what you think it is from that genre. Like, that's what impresses me about that genre, is that as predictable as some of the genres that we normally do on the show are, the Christmas Hallmarky movie. And they're not all by Hallmark, obviously, but that type of film there's only about 5 plots to those, and
I know,
and it's astounding, but they churn them out and they make money, and bless them for that.
We all know that girl that loves them. Don't
yeah,
we all know that girl who's just, I just saw it. I gotta watch them all, and
my mom watches those. Yeah. Like, yeah, she had it on, like, she would flip it back to that channel, like, whenever no one was, when she had the controller, we'll go back to Hallmark, and or W, I think it was, and yeah, and it's our one of our B movie idols, Fred Olin Ray. That's what he does as a job now. He has for years produced family Christmas movies.
Fred Olin Ray.
Yeah.
I would love to have been there on the first one. He's producing it. It's a family Christmas movie. And then when he sits there and goes, "You should take your top off." I wonder.
Probably be quite a change.
And then they explain to him, no, it's a Hallmark movie. And he goes, So
get her a card that says "Take your top off."
Exactly.
But I mean, think of the skill set of, you can tell a coherent story, you can arrive on a budget, and you can work in a short time period. That's what you need to do those kinds of movies. Wynorski did a few. Wynorski also did a few family films, but they Wynorski kind of went to that Sci-Fi Channel run, which is exactly the same kind of skill set.
I think he had unrated cuts that went straight to DVD. So,
I
don't think he can help himself.
I feel like that Doggone to Hollywood doesn't have a darker cut to it.
No, none of his J. Andrews stuff would have an adult cut.
I'm pretty sure Doggone it, whatever Doggone World or whatever you called it. Pretty sure it started
linear quickly. 3 of those, yeah. He made
3 of those. That's
funny,
awesome.
is that, like, if having watched so much of Wynorski's, like, having watched everything I could find of Wynorski's oeuvre, you see these actors that pop up over and over, because in the same way that he gets hired because of a skill set of, on budget and on time, he works with actors that he knows he won't they won't have problems with. So he uses the same people over and over. And then when he makes that transition from, like, he was from the softcore and the 90s direct-to-video stuff that he was doing as Jay Andrews, and then you've got the softcore era, the Cinemax type stuff, and then the family movies, and you see actors follow him through that path. So there's actors who had her top off in an earlier movie who are now, like, running the candy store where the kids go.
I love it.
Did Ron Jeremy make this transition by any chance?
I don't think he does. No, I don't remember him in any Wynorski movie, to be honest. Were we talking about something?
Yeah, they were Redburn. kind of lost.
Masters of
We
Horror,
may have
cigarette
lost our way
burns.
just a little bit.
Cigarette burns. Well, I mean, everyone loves a film about a film, and honestly, the Norman Reedus character in this film, who just like, you know, he says at one point he doesn't want a regular movie. He wants something different. He wants something like something that he hasn't seen before. I forget what the exact line is, but at that point in the movie, I was like, hey, isn't that what we do? Isn't that just us? Like, if you told us that there's a movie out there that it might make us crazy when we watch it, we'd watch it. I mean, maybe not together, but we would.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I stay away from the cannibal holocaust things now. I've learned my lesson. The Mondo Cane films.
This also plays with some urban legends about film. Snuff films, for example, which are prominent and shocking in this. And there is a short reference to subliminal messaging. So there's some inside baseball film stuff to this. When the guy finally gets the print, and he's like, he gets his butler to like get the movie ready, and he sits down and he's pouring his champagne. I'm like, and he's paid $200,000 plus expenses to get this movie in his hands. All I could think is, no one better talk during this. You've played over $200,000 to watch the movie once. You don't want to be the guy who left his phone on.
Good point. Good point. I think a lot of the success or failure of this, and like I say, I found it a little bit slow. I think a lot of it is when you actually finally see the film, is it properly creepy? So did you guys find it properly creepy for the legend that had been built up around it that we got heading into it?
I got a thing with fingernails being snapped off, so yes. Creep me the fuck
that part made me go, that part was uncomfortable.
It did remind me of the way the video is in The Ring. The video kills you after 7 days. That it's just a flash of images rather than a narrative. It's just like a minute of seemingly random images. And if it was like, to me, it was either that was the movie as I assembled it in my head, or Eraserhead. It was it was like a David Lynch student film, is what was actually on the reel there. But yeah, I mean, they still try. It's almost like, I mean, you have to show something. Like, you need to pay that off after you've talked about it this much. But you also don't want to break that it's a normal thing after that. Like, it's still someone who was very experimental film and didn't believe, like, it didn't want to be in Hollywood, didn't want to make those kinds of movies.
That's true, yeah.
It did bother me that the guy who fed himself into the film projector, that couldn't work.
That was the least realistic part.
Yeah, and
that was so shocking.
The movie
that was so shocking.
Playing, despite the fact that he had obviously put his intestines into the film projector. So how could the film still be playing?
Well, it's cursed. It's not a regular film. It's a magical, mystical film.
I think he had 2 projectors, but you're right. Like, I mean, there's still
that's one strong projector anyway that can
for sure
drag that kind of weight.
He must have pulled them out first so that there was some slack on it. Like, I don't think it could have done that itself.
Yeah. It's actually quite a gory. That
it is
very gory.
Yeah.
Especially for John Carpenter. I mean, yes, I mean, The Thing is gory. If you look at the rest of his work, not very gory at all.
No.
So it's, you know, in some ways, to me, it was kind of shocking because it is that John Carpenter kid.
Yeah. The I mean, the scene with Udo Kier's final scene is quite shocking. Like, it's pretty graphic. Like, it was cover my eyes for a second. Like, oh my god, I don't think my brain's ready for what's happening right now. So
Having just watched Terrifier 2, it was nothing.
Oh, Terrifier 2's out. Oh man, Terrifier.
It's now available for home video.
I love that. So I have a 12-year-old nephew.
Just watched Return of Duke Nukem or Return of Nukem High Volume 2. Yeah. It's nothing.
That's awesome.
I
I
like the first one a lot more. The second one,
the first one was better. Yeah.
There's too much flaccid fat guy penis in the second one for me personally. But, you know,
the first one was better, but it's.
I thought that was your specialty.
No, I mean, yes, having those pictures of myself, yes, that's my specialty to take. But to watch it in a film, it's.
So you're saying for a connoisseur, it just doesn't just doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. For those people looking for, as a flaccid, fat guy, flaccid penis, expert, as I am. Yeah, no, I mean, I could teach the master class, but the point being here is that there's one thing to be taking selfies in the mirror of it, and there's no other thing to be watching a film on it and going, oh no, the camera's panning down. He's going to stop, right? He's going to stop, right? The joke is that he's not going to stop, right? He doesn't stop. Oh my God, that's a close-up of a fat man's flaccid penis for a really long time now.
Bit of trivia. Jack and I were in a grunge band together, and Fat Guy Flaccid Penis was the name of our album.
Yeah. and the picture of it, me. You're welcome.
We saved money by not needing the fold-out CD case.
What were you going to say about your 11-year-old nephew and
yeah, that's a great link there. My 12-year-old. What I've discovered about the kids today is that they watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and they'll watch a trailer or a highlights video on YouTube, and then they say they saw that movie. And my nephew is like, he's told us he's seen movies, and then we watch the whole movie, and he's like, he's clearly seen some kind of trailer or something. He told us that he had seen Terrifier, and I'm like, we saw Terrifier. And if you had ever seen Terrifier, you would never have stopped hiding. We would never have seen you again, because you'd never leave your basement again. I needed a decompress vacation after I saw Terrifier.
After I saw Terrifier, I mean, and Terrifier 2 is probably worse. Like, as far as like gore. Yeah, I mean, I needed a shower after watching that thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that I want to go back and watch the first one before I watch the sequel. I think I'll pass this time. I think.
Yeah, I think you probably have it. I think you're probably good.
Did
you watch All Hallows Eve?
I did, yes. And if you go on Internet Archive, you can find the original short film of Terrifier that was edited into All Hallows Eve. They were most of that movie is short films that the director had made and then cut together into an anthology. So you can find but the Terrifier linking sequences were new. The main Terrifier story was a short. So after Udo Kier has called our hero Norman Reedus to come back to the house.
Are we still talking about this?
Yeah, we might as well. So Norman Reedus comes in just as the credits are rolling, and he is dead set he's not going to watch this movie. He knows that it's how bad it, how like awful it's going to be for him, knows like the curse and everything, wants to be done with it, sees that the credits are rolling. And and my first thought was, God, I hope for his sake there's no post-credit sequence. it would be a pain in the ass for like, oh, thank God. And then there's like, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus recruiting people into the new Avengers or something.
Yeah, that's who exactly when I think this film's likely to have a it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus recruiting people into the new Avengers was exactly where I was going. I'm like,
speaking of fast acting, was anyone else taken out of the film by the love interest? I mean, really, she was only there for the nudity, I think. But she does get a couple lines.
It wasn't high quality nudity.
No,
it was dead in a bathtub blood nudity.
Yeah, and that's it's. I mean, if it's your thing, fine. I'm
not talking about the actual nudity. I'm just saying the casting call is obviously
better than the flaccid
willing
penis.
To do nudity. I'm just wondering if you thought she was as bad actor as I did.
I mean, she doesn't have a
lot. Well, I thought she played I thought the part where she was playing a junkie, and she acted like a junkie. I thought she played a fine junkie.
Yeah, I thought she nailed that. Yeah.
See, that was the thing I had a problem with. She was so junkie-ish when Norman Regis, like Norman Regis always comes off as a junkie, yet he doesn't have any of the. Yeah, he wasn't shaking or anything like that, but he did have the.
It is true he comes off as a junkie, even though you've never seen him shoot up or do drugs or anything, even like have a drink, and yet totally. If somebody said to you, you know, he's actually a junkie, you'd be like, oh, I know.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not even that makes sense. I know. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this. I can't stand the lawsuit.
I don't think you can sue for looks like a junkie.
I believe that might be his like on his calling cards.
Looks like a junkie.
Smells like a junkie. Hire Norman Regis.
I can play. Yeah, I can play.
I like how you keep on calling him Norman Regis.
No,
like he's Regis Philbin.
If I do, then it's just it's
not you. You're not doing it.
Oh, okay.
Nick keeps calling him Norman Regis.
Sorry,
Norman Regis.
Now I'm just gonna do that. That's. Right? Gelman, go back and edit this. Fix that.
Oh, I miss Norman Regis.
Norman Regis and Kathy Lee. That was a great show.
That was good stuff right there. I like the part where he was shooting up and she wasn't.
So okay, one last
episode. That's what this episode will.
Movie.
First thing you're going to put down on the description of this episode: focused.
I mean, this is a deep dive into John Carpenter's cigarette burns.
This is we have talked about John Carpenter's cigarette burns without talking about John Carpenter at all. You're welcome.
Have you seen a lot of movies about John Carpenter? Well, this is not one. You will learn nothing about John Carpenter in this.
No, you'll learn nothing. But you will learn a lot about flaccid penis.
I want one last question for you guys. I want you to dig deep with this one. So Bellinger, the guy who pays more than $200,000 to get this film, and the film then makes him insane, and he pulls his guts out through using a movie projector. Do you think this is the worst film that Udo Kier's ever been involved in, or
no? He worked with Uwe Boll.
Oh, there you go. Multiple times, hasn't he?
I feel like if this was really Udo Kier, he'd watch that and go, I mean, maybe trim out a couple of minutes. It'll work work in Europe.
But yeah, Uwe Boll, didn't he work with him multiple times?
I believe so. Yeah. He was also in that Nazis.
So he's the one guy who could stand him. Like, the check's clear. Give him what you will about Uwe Boll. The check's clear.
Another softball Canada spotting. We do end up in Vancouver for part of this episode. Vancouver playing Vancouver. Also, the Vogue Theater, which is the theater that Norman Regis's character owns, is a real theater that had been a movie theater until the early 21st century, and is now a venue for live performance.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I spent the entire time over there in Vancouver looking for Vancouver license plates, personally. And,
the other
not
episode,
a single one. They managed to hide it very well that they were in Canada. They're filming that scene in Canada. That
other episode that they end up in Vancouver, they make a point, like the license plate is actually a plot point. So they have to go the opposite direction to the normal, like avoiding the license plates. Because that's how he finds her, is that he finds a BC license plate, and then it's incredibly easy to find this person. Go back and listen to that episode. I can't remember which one it is to listen to all of them. All right, as Jack pointed out, we do put these episodes on podcast apps everywhere, and also we have a YouTube channel that has lots of other stuff, as well as the long archive of the Cult Film Showdown. Search for the Ultimate B Movie. We're sponsored by WeTalkPodcast.com, and they have a Facebook and they have a Twitter. And you can find the Cult Film Showdown on Patreon. Support the heroic work we are doing with Masters of Horror. We're being terrified by these movies, so that you can be terrified by them later, I guess. We're not discouraging you from watching them. So
please watch them.
Yeah, we've kind of ran off the rails halfway through that promise. And we're also on the Instagram. Next episode, did anyone look this up?
I did not.
That's okay. The next episode we'll be talking about is The Fair-Haired Child. That's the name of the next one, and directed by William Malone, who is someone I'm not familiar with. So I'm looking forward to for Jack to enlighten me. So that wraps it up for this episode, and we will talk to you soon.